Hello everyone, and welcome to I'm Home. As promised, we've got a lot to unpack in this video, so I'm just going to start with these bowls that my sister-in-law brought me for our Christmas party the other night. She knows how I like my red transferware, and these, some people call them mulberry. They have a blurred mulberry pattern on the outside, and then the inside looks more like transferware. Thank you, Bev. I love them. I set them on this little footstool. It was a footstool that didn't have an upholstered top on it, and I just painted the bottom of it black and nailed some boards to the top and made a little display cabinet out of it. And it's been sitting in my kitchen for a couple years now, and I just put different stuff on it all the time. There's that old platter I've shown you before that's looking like it's from the 1800s. And then I stack my crock bowls, and there's the little bowls that Bev gave me. I just like to tuck pretty things around. Don't ever overlook something that isn't all together, because you can fix it to how you want it. These little reindeer I thrifted the other day, they look vintage, but I really don't think they are. They're too nice. If you know where they're from, let me know. They might be from Target or someplace. And I was in a Salvation Army about a month ago, and I saw this basket, and it was $3.99. It had a little hole in it, which was no problem, but I passed on it because I thought, oh, you don't need another basket. And as soon as I got home and started looking at YouTube videos and reading magazines, I started seeing it in all the books, and I instantly regretted not getting it. I've always heard that with thrifting, the only thing you'll regret is the things you didn't buy, and that's the truth. So my husband had a doctor's appointment, and we went back to that town about a month later, and I walked in, and it was still there. And the tag on it was cream colored, and that was half off that day. So I got it for $1.99, and I just love it. I coffee stained it, and it looks a little darker there than it actually is, but it reminds me of the ones in the books, and I think it does have some age on it, and I was really tickled to get it. Like I said, it's looking a little darker than it actually is, but it's really pretty, and it fits in great with all my stuff. Then I got this little, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to cut all that stuff off the top and just have the two little drawers and put it in my kitchen for little trinkets. I don't know what I'll use it for, but it kind of led me to talk about how you can take other things and make them look old. I've done it for years. I think you can actually just take newer stuff and beat it up, paint it, stain it, do anything you want to it, and make it look old to fit into your primitive or antique decor. Now, I know I said when it comes to quilts, I'm a purist, and what I meant by that was when you say you quilt, if you say, hey, I made a quilt, I'm hoping you're going to say you hand quilted it. But if you machine quilted it, and that's fine, machine quilting's the rage right now, and it's great. But I think if you make a machine quilt, you should say, I machine quilted this. Because quilting is such an art, I don't think it should be diminished by machine quilting. So I'm kind of a purist with that. But that's not to say that you can't make and grunge up things for your house to make them fit in with antique and primitive look. This is my great Aunt Dora, and she quilted, I bet she made 100 quilts in her lifetime while raising a family and helping her husband on the farm. And it's such an art that I wish more people would go back to it. But she used to be in newspapers with all of her quilts. She made a lot, and I have one of them, and I love it. You know, I cherish that. But I like to quilt, and I'm going to learn to machine quilt one of these days. I just don't know who does it. And then, like I said, you can totally make new things to look old for your place. There's nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of people that buy things from me that have authentic cabins with authentic primitive furniture, and they buy my old grunged up stuff. Heck, I grunge up everything for my house. I always have. I think anything you can accessorize with that looks old, as long as it goes with the aesthetic of your home, it's wonderful. And like I said, I coffee stain, I beat things up, I do all kinds of things, and there's nothing wrong with it. But when it comes to quilting, I like to hand quilt, and that's just a personal preference. So these little teddy bears, I'm going to show you the first project. I bought these at the thrift store. Teddy bears are $10 a dozen. I tried to find the skinniest ones I could get so I could show you how to do this. You can take one of these teddy bears and give it a really close haircut. I mean, take your scissors and cut it all the way down to the original material. And if you cut a little hole in it, that's fine, because you want these little bears to look like they've been worn out and really, really loved. And you're going to take non-toxic paint and water it down. These are my favorite brushes to paint bears with. I've got 2 or 3 in my basement now, because if I set a teddy bear in a chair, I want him to look old and primitive. And this is that first one that I showed you. And I cut his hair down and I painted him with black and brown. And this is what they look like when you're done. I blow dry them and get them really good and dry. And I put a tag on the back of them that says they're reproductions and they're for decorative use only. But I really don't think it would hurt a little kid to pick it up and love on it a little bit. And they're so cute, and you can't mess them up. The grungier and dirtier, you can even cut their ears off. My husband bought me this little chair the other day for $3.99 at a thrift store. And of course, my mind goes crazy with what I can do with it. And I kind of look at them as little risers. I love little chairs anyway, all kinds of chairs. But I use them as risers and display pieces for parties. You can put your peanut brittle, your candy, your fudge, set them on your counter, set them on your table, your bar, wherever you're serving. Decorate them up a little bit with some greenery and some candy canes. You got to look at it in a different way than just a chair. There's some paper plates displayed on one. And people always say, oh, that's a cute idea. You can roll your dish towels up in them. And if you don't have room on your counter, you can set them on the floor and put stuff in them. Stack some pie plates in them or some crock bowls or just about anything. Here's the little bowls that my sister-in-law Bev got me. And some old Christmas books and Santa Claus. There's just a lot of things you can do. Here's some treat bags for unexpected guests that might stop in, or expected guests. You can fill treat bags and have them sitting in the little chair waiting when they come in. Give them one. And there's a favorite crock bowl of mine with a pretty dish towel and a butter paddle. Old cookbooks or new cookbooks. Holly Taylor's cookbook, one of my favorites, you know. Marge Clark's cookbook looks pretty on an old chair. You just have to think outside the box. I spent the morning putting things in this little chair to show you, and you're going to be overloaded with ideas. Christmas cards. People don't send as many cards now, so you probably only get 7 or 8. You could put them on the little chair and display them. There's one displayed on the bottom rung of the chair. My little Santa mug, which I found out a little bit of information about. I'll tell you later. I put a red quilt behind the little chair so that you could see this stuff better. And there's another little Christmas book. And there's a little picture of Kevin's mother when she was little. It just makes things more special. There's the little light I got at the thrift store. And some greenery. And then I set some candles on it. And those are real candles, but I usually just use battery-operated ones. And a big ball jar full of cookie cutters. And some greenery would look pretty on the chair. Just anything out of the box. Now remember that platter, the English Abbey, that I saw for $15 when I went with Sherry to the Covered Bridge Festival? Since then, I've thrifted 2 of those platters for 99 cents a piece. I just love them. I set them on that little chair with a candle and with Bev's little bowls that she gave me. And it just looks adorable. It's just something pretty to look at while you're in the kitchen working. Of course, I don't think kitchen is working. I like to work in the kitchen. Those were my boys at Christmas. This is the Bar Farm where my great Aunt Dora, who quilted, lived. This is her, and now her grandson, my second or third cousin, John Lawrence, he lives in the house, and we're happy that it's still in the family. And there's my grandpa and his 2 brothers, and a pretty dish towel, and a picture of Santa, and a candle. There's just no end to what you can do. There's a very old book. And then the tatted doily. I saw a tatted doily in an antique shop one day for $45. I thrifted this one. And tatting is, like I said before, an art that's unlike no other. I guess it was my dad's second cousin. She was tatting all the time. And they're just remarkable pieces of work. And I'm just happy to have this one. I have a piece of one that she did as well. And then the Flow Blue gravy boat. It's got a note on the bottom of it that says, I can't read it all, but it says, from Aunt Emma when she left for Colorado in 1909. I just think that's so special. I leave it on there. And it's a pretty pricey gravy boat, even though I thrifted it. They're pretty high online. And just some pretty, of course, Santa can always sit anywhere. Like I've told you a million times, you can, nothing else, you can put Santa in the little chair. Now this little Santa's got a story. I had a little wicker sleigh one time I wanted to set on my mantle, and I didn't have a Santa to fit it. So I was at the thrift store one day, and I found this little Victorian doll. You know, the cheap little dolls you can get at the thrift store. I brought her home, and I forgot to take pictures before I started putting mustaches on her. And I took her wig off, and I took her dress off, and got her down to the cloth body, and I started putting eyebrows and mustache on her. And then I put a beard on her, and I clipped her eyelashes because she had huge long eyelashes. And I just clipped her down and started putting stuff on her, and she turned into a man. And she ended up looking like Mark Twain before I got her finished. But she was starting to look like a cute little old Santa. And after I got the beard and the eyebrows and the mustache on, and I just used batting, she turned into a beautiful Mr. Santa Claus. I just love him, and he fits perfectly in that little sleigh. And that's just another idea for you of how you can take something that wasn't meant for that purpose at all. And these little bells are real tiny. They're just a little bit bigger than a clove. And my friend Sherry gave those to me, and I put one on the tip of his hat and all the way down his little jacket. And I set him on the base of the fireplace. And I was thrifting the other day, and I found an old vintage casserole dish with bittersweet on it. And I'm going to give it to my friend Rosie with her Christmas, because Rosie loves bittersweet, and she loves to decorate with it in the fall, and she'll really like that. I showed you this in the last video. It's a metal tray. I got it half off, so I got it for $1. It's 16 inches across, and it has a snowflake pattern on it. And I just love it. I couldn't pass it up. I would have paid 50 cents for it. And I got this IKEA bowl, which is 18 inches across, and I think I'm going to put greenery in it and decorate it up. But the little stool that I found, it was $3, and I knew immediately that I was going to paint it and grunge it up a little bit, and I did. I'll show you what I did with that in a little bit. And then I found some bells. Bells are really popular right now. And this little Santa, I just put him, I decoupaged him onto a piece of foam board. And I'm just trying to tell you guys about fake it till you make it is what I call it. Like when I've had my first house, I couldn't afford a lot of accessories for my antiques. I wanted wooden bowls. And I bought this one. The paint's almost all gone off of it. This is from the 60s or 70s. And I painted it to make it look like an old wooden bowl. And I was successful. It looks like a primitive old wooden bowl. And I set it on a chair that I'm going to show you here in a little bit. And I decorated up with a butter paddle and some oranges and some greenery. And no one would ever know that that's not an old primitive bowl. And then I painted the top of the little stool the mustard color, and I set the bowl on it, and I set it kind of by a cabinet when you come in our back door, and it looks real pretty. I'll probably put it downstairs later and put some different things in the bowl, but I'm just showing you that you can do that, and no one would be the wiser. Look at the edge of that bowl. I scraped it, I cut into it, I chopped it with a screwdriver, I hit it with a hammer, I put some black, I put some brown, a mustard color, and this is another thing, I'm faking it till I make it. I would like to have a red coverlet, and I've looked at them, and oh my gosh, they're pricey. So I found this tablecloth that looks like a coverlet, and I'm currently soaking it in coffee, and I'll show you that in a later video. This is a pie lifter. I have one. This one is my grandma's, and I've never seen one before until the thrift store the other day. You put them in your pie pan before you put your crust in, and then you cut along those two pieces of the metal, and your pie lifts out, your first piece lifts out just perfectly. They're beautiful, and they're so, I don't know why they don't make them today. there I displayed it on my little pie stand with a little Santa I found while thrifting and the sifter that Rosie gave me. And this is a little Victorian looking tin that I found for 10 cents. And I put my tape and scissors and tags and stuff in it. And I leave it sitting up by my address book so I always know where it's at. And it's beautiful. Then I found a box at one of the thrift stores was 25 cents for cards. But this one was a whole box of cards. I got about 60 cards. And they're just gorgeous. They're beautiful cards. And then their envelopes have the same image down in the corner of the envelope. They're really fancy cards. And there was only about 6 missing out of the box. And, you know, I like to send different cards to people. I don't want to send the same card to every single person. And then I found this box of pink cards. They have sparkles and a Christmas tree on them and really pretty envelopes. And I think it was 50 cents. I don't know. And then Sherry, she gifted me these Arnett Santa Christmas cards, which I'm not going to send to anybody. I'm going to be selfish and keep those for myself. I just love them. And then I got this little tree. She's 10 inches tall, and I put it in a little silver tray with a little votive candle, and I set it in my living room window. I have my living room window decorated with that skinny table right behind my sofa that I've showed you before. And I got this lamp several years ago at a thrift store for $1, and it's one of my favorite lamps I've ever owned. And I just love the little tag. That's the original tag that was on it, and I've left it on there for years. I don't care. And then there's the fabric that's on that little table. It's a brocade velvet, gorgeous piece of fabric. It's a curtain, actually, and the opposite side has gold satin, and it's just gorgeous. I used to use it on my mantle. And then I just put crystal and glass and candle holders that have votive candles. Now this little Santa, I couldn't believe it. He's hand carved and he was $1. I wasn't particularly crazy about his look, but he's growing on me. I think they thought it was broke because it was all cut and slanted on the bottom, but it's that way so that he sits that way. And I've not been able to find one on the internet, so I think he's handmade. And I stuck him in my wooden bowl, and he's beautiful. And like I said, his little face is growing on me. And then I found these little metal churches. This one's 10 inches tall and the other one's 6 inches tall. And I need to hide my cords back there. And they have little battery-operated votive candles in them. And I set those underneath my nativity tree. Now, I'm thrifting the other day and I find this big live edge slab with the Last Supper decoupaged onto it for $1.99. And the colors in it were just gorgeous. It was very well done. Whoever decoupaged it did a good job. And I brought it home and put it underneath my tree. I found these on the internet that are similar. My grandma had one that was pretty similar of just Jesus's face. And I've always loved them, and I've never seen one at a thrift store. That's the one like my grandma had. I don't know whatever happened to it. And then look at this one. I'd love to find one like this with the rust-colored garment that he's wearing. And so I just tucked it under the tree. I leaned it up against the base of the tree, and you can see it when you come across the room and all the ornaments hanging down around it. And it's got all the colors of my nativity tree, and I just love it. And of course, there's my nativity all lit up. I just love my nativity tree. And I saw this at the thrift store the other day. I thought it was the sweetest picture. The carpenter and his son. Then I found this little teapot. It's metal, and I think it's a salt shaker. And this adorable little 2-inch crystal creamer that will go on my little child's table downstairs. I love it. Then looking through a box, I found these. I think my sister-in-law gave me these. They're little 3-inch plates, and I use them for coasters. Well, they're about 4 inches. I use them for coasters all over my living room. Then I found these. I had this set of little angels. They're 8-inch tall, and I had them, and I broke all but one. So I don't even set the one out anymore. But I found them for $2 a set, but it was half price, so I got them for $1. And they didn't fit under my nativity tree. I've got too much stuff under it, so I put them under my nature tree. And are they just adorable or what? They just make me so happy. Well, they're angels. Then I found at the half-price thrift store, these gold, very delicate ornaments. They're old. They've got little glittery pattern on them, and I set them. I've got too many on my nativity tree, so I just put them in my glass bowl on the table, and they look really pretty there. And then there's that big goblet that's a foot tall candle that I got at the thrift store about a month ago, and I finally remembered to bring it out and light it up. Then I found this little. Somebody made it in ceramics class. I got it for $1. It was done with a really ugly baby blue chalky finish. So I love the style of it and the design, so I brought it home and spray painted it gold. And there's one of my other Santas that I got for $1 at the half-off sale. There were 2 different sales. One of them was like $1 for everything, and one was like 10 cents for everything, and both of them were half off. And of course, this is a little card, and Santa looks cute peeking out from behind things. This is the normal look of my hutch in my dining room, and it just goes to show you can leave your regular stuff out and just add an ornament or some candy canes, some little Christmas elements in there, and you can leave your regular stuff out. Then I had some oranges and apples that were getting old, so I decided to dry some yesterday, and the house just smelled heavenly. I sprinkled some with cinnamon and cloves. And then I found this at the thrift store. I found this at Restore the other day. It's a Victorian potty chair. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. I know it's a potty chair. I'm going to take wood and upholster the wood and put over the seat. My friend Pat, I found this one on the internet. It was the only one close enough to what it's like. My friend Pat actually collects the little potties that go in these seats. Here I decorated it with my dad's old school books and a picture of Man's Chapel. But Pat has the little potties that go in them, but I just thought that little chair was adorable. So my Christmas is taken care of, and the big thing that's coming up later is my Christmas. I told Kevin I'm done. You don't have to buy me a thing for Christmas. I'm so happy with my Victorian potty chair and all the other goodies that I got. Now this little cranberry glass lid, I've been seeing at this one thrift store for about 3 months, and it was 50 cents. I didn't buy it because I have cranberry glass, but I didn't have anything I thought it would fit. Plus I didn't think it would look good on just clear crystal. So about a week ago I was in there and I found this big pedestal bowl, cranberry glass rimmed bowl, and I brought it home to add to my cranberry glass collection, which I have a ton of. I'm going to show you someday. And the other day, I decided to buy that lid, and it fits perfectly. It doesn't go with it. It's not meant to be with this, I'm pretty sure. But it fit perfectly. I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, for 50 cents, I'll give it a go. And look, it's perfect. It works that way. I actually bought a cake at the grocery store the other day because of this little pink reindeer. I had to have that little topper. And don't worry, the cake didn't go to waste. My son came home and we demolished it. Okay, I was at Menards one day and I saw this $29 wreath for my barn door, and I wanted it so bad, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. So I didn't. But I dreamt about it. I went into the thrift store one day and there it was for $2.99. Now, it's looking a little worse for the wear because it gets real windy and rainy out there, and I have to fluff it up every now and then, but I even went back to Menards to look to make sure it was the same one, and it is. And there's a little Santa that's in my barn. I don't know why he's out there and not in the house. I guess I just can't have them all. This is a little toy, a Victorian toy for a child, and it's like a rattle. It's got a bell inside. And I thought this was a cute little stocking. I made it years ago. I just found it the other day. It looks like a fat little baby sock. And then I have a lot of wooden spoons and butter paddles and things that are so old that you wouldn't want to use them. And they look good in bowls and stuff. But I put this one in the top of the tree with some rusty stars. And then I just tuck some of the wooden spoons and paddles into my tree. This is in my barn. I thought they really looked unique. There's the little fat stocking. And then this is a neat wedding picture I have out in my shop that's an old couple, I guess, from the 40s. And then I like the pictures of the little kids in the old days. And I got a lot of blue and white wear right now. And here's a little book of prayers that I kind of tuck into a tree. And this is a real tall vintage cookbook that's pretty interesting. And then I was noticing I still have a pumpkin and some bittersweet stuck in back there in the cabinet. Now, if you like primitives and antiques, especially primitives, these are my favorite YouTube gals. Ann Clay, The Primitive Home, and Bridget's Primitive Passion. They take you on tours of homes and shops, and you'll just go crazy if you like that kind of decor. They're the best. Go watch them. Then I found this little, I don't know, an angel snowman made by an artist named Derek Adams. It's hand carved. And I looked him up online, and his things go for a pretty penny. And that was half off, so it was $1. Then I found this. I thought he was made out of wood, but I think he's made out of resin. He's about 1.5 feet tall. Got him for 50 cents. I don't care for the expression on his face, but again, he's growing on me. And then I showed you this rigid tinsel that I got at the thrift store. And it was $6.99 at Hobby Lobby. I got it half off of $1.50. So for 75 cents, I got some major bling for my nativity tree for cheap. It really filled out my tree. Then I found this vintage, I believe, apron at the thrift store. It didn't have a price on it. I took it up and the girl said, "How about 50 cents?" Yes. It's too pretty to be vintage in too good a shape to be vintage, but it's too vintagey looking to be new. But tell me if it's a Target piece or something, if you know. It really looks vintage to me. It just looks super clean. I love it. I collect antique aprons, and I have several, but I think this is going to be one of my favorites. I absolutely love it. It's got the prettiest red designs and all the pretty red scallops across the bottom, and it's just special. And I was really tickled to get it. Sometimes you just never know what you're going to find at the thrift store. Then I was running across in my box these old tiles that I used to paint and make coasters out of them, and I need to start doing that again. These have had things sitting on them and some of the paint's coming off, but it made me start thinking about buying some tiles and start painting again. I really love to do that. And I'm not going to show you everything I got at the thrift store. I got these little teaspoon wooden pieces for $1, and they considered them Christmas and gave them to me half off. I got this lithograph. I got 5 or 6 of these of the fruit. And these little bows, they look like fabric, but they're actually resin, and they're really cute. I got about 10 of those, and then I got this little star to put on top of my nativity, and it looks just perfect there. I picked up some bells, half off. I think they were about 50 cents. Bells are really popular this year, and these are pretty good size ones. Now, when I was a little girl, this is me modeling some costume jewelry that my grandma gave me. I've got it pinned on my pajama cuff all the way down at the bottom. Anyway, when I was a little girl, I grew up, I was a happy little girl. I grew up with the most extraordinary family, my mom and dad and my only brother. And we had such a happy life. I can't believe my childhood was so great. But I grew up with this lamp. It's been in our house all my life. It was my grandma's. My mom received it after Grandma died, and it's from the 40s. And they say they're hand-painted, and we had it forever. And when it went out of fashion, Mom had it in the living room, but when it went out of style, she put it in her bedroom on the dresser. And when she died, my dad gave it to me. And we moved about 12 years ago, and I lost that lamp. And I don't know if I lost it, gave it away. I know I wouldn't have sold it or donated it because I loved that lamp so much. And I told my husband, I said, I've been thinking about that lamp. So I went online and found all these images of that lamp, and they were quite expensive. And I didn't really want to have it shipped to me. This is a green one with a green base and slightly different colored flowers. But I didn't really want to have one shipped to me. I was kind of scared of that. And here's a white one with no burgundy at the bottom. And I told my husband, I said, I've been dreaming about that lamp, and I wish I could find it, but I don't know what I did with it. He said, well, you're just going to have to hope you find one thrifting someday. And I said, oh, yeah, like that's ever going to happen. And here's one that's got a little bit different flower on it. And I couldn't quit thinking about these lamps. We only had one, but I couldn't get it off my mind. And there's the same rose. Now, I'm a little bit skeptical on it, whether or not they were hand-painted or decals, but the more I look at them, the roses are different. And here's one that's been made into a like an oil lamp, which I don't care for. But we walked into Wreath store the other day, just on a whim, and here it is. My lamp. I couldn't believe it. It was $15, but I would have paid whatever. I put that thing in my arms, and I paid for it and carried it out to the car immediately. And I told my husband, I said, I found my lamp. We could not believe it. And here's the kicker, guys. I think it's our lamp. We only live 18 miles from this thrift store, so it's not unreasonable to think that I could have donated it or given it away or lost it or whatever. Maybe somebody took it. I don't know. And it ended up in that thrift store. I could not believe it. The bottom of that lamp, I used to examine it when I was a little kid, and the little ribbon across the bottom actually looks like the ribbon that was on ours. And just by holding it and looking at it, I feel like it's my lamp from when I was a little kid. Here's one that is a little different, and this is a lampshade that doesn't go good on it. I got to get a better one. It came with a burgundy shade, but there it is, and I tell you what, it was just a Christmas miracle. It's my Christmas gift for all time. I'm so happy to have my mom's lamp back. I know you're probably getting sick of looking at pictures of it, but as long as I live, I will never get tired of looking at this lamp, and I'm so mad at myself that I let something happen to that lamp and lost it. But look at those beautiful roses. They're painted by somebody named Worrell, W-O-R-R-A-L, and I'm just in love with it. Okay, my Forever book is a new book that I just got yesterday as a gift from my nephew Brad. He bought it at Mary's Rusty Horse Warehouse uptown. It's by Susan Wagoner. If you like vintage Christmas, you're going to go wild over this book. I think the book was printed in like 2009. I can't believe I've not seen it out thrifting or in a bookstore. I would have snatched it up immediately. It's just gorgeous. It's got all kinds of vintage pictures in it. She tells stories about Christmas through the decades, from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and shows toys and shows the lights and the decorations and the candles, and she shows ornaments. This is a little blurry. I'm sorry about that. And the cameras that were popular at the time, and the telephones and the TVs. I love this old picture of the TV. We had one like that when I was real little. And the telephones that were popular at the time that they thought would be a good gift. I really can't. The back of this book is as beautiful as the front. It's got a big candy cane on it. And I looked it up, and you can find it on Amazon and thriftedbooks.com. It's everywhere. So if you get a chance, get this book. You will love it. It's beautiful. The cover's just beautiful. It'll look pretty sitting around and maybe in one of my little chairs. And then it got me thinking about some decorations we had when I was young. This was a cellophane wreath that we had that was beautiful. And then these are the lights we used to use in the 70s. And then my aunt and uncle had these lights on their tree, which you could actually warm up standing by their tree because it got so hot. And then this is an old Victorian tree that I had in the late 80s, early 90s. It was all pink and mauve, and I look at my lace curtains. And this is my little buddy, Anthony. We used to keep him. He was a friend of ours, little boy, and we kept him, and he was a sweetheart. Now, look at that decor in the background. I think I've gotten a little better. And he was our little special buddy until he moved away, and then we didn't get to see him as much, but our little buds came along, and we were used to taking care of little boys after taking care of him, and Marcus and Matthew, our twins, and I'm happy to say all three of these boys are fine, fine young men. Now, my girl here in town, our local girl that put on Facebook, or put on my page that she would like some vintage green Christmas or kitchen things. I'm tongue-tied. Lori, she sent me a picture of how she styled the things that I sent her from the Thrift for You, and she's been collecting some milk glass, and I'm real proud of Lori. She's a great decorator, and she's the sweetest gal you'll ever meet. She's one of my young girls from the beauty shop years ago. I used to cut her hair, and I just love her, and she's getting her quite a collection of of milk glass going on. And a lady named Sheila from Ohio wrote to me and told me that my Santa mug actually has a name. It's called the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas Santa, and it's made by the Virginia Pottery Company. So thank you for that information, Sheila, and I'm going to look that up and see more about him. And of course, it's warm and cozy in the miniature Christmas cabin, getting ready for Christmas and waiting for Christmas to get here. And Man's Chapel, my little mini Man's Chapel, I put greenery on it and some greenery inside. And I've got a special little treat for you later on about Man's Chapel when we get a little closer to Christmas that I think you'll really enjoy. And the little greenery in there is real. I've been tucking that in all week. And I wanted to share some images with you that I saw on Pinterest. And then I saw some of them on Facebook the other day of these, I don't know if they're cards or just prints, but look at the beautiful rust-colored decorations and the clothes on these people. I'm just in love. You know that's my favorite color to decorate with. And for Christmas, I just thought it was pretty unique that all of these pictures have the rust color throughout. I just love them, and I wanted to share them with you guys. And if you know of where these came from and how we can order them, I would love to know. I thought it was really special that they were all done in the rust-colored tones instead of bright Christmas colors. So, I hope you guys are all having a great week, getting close to Christmas. You can follow me on Instagram. That would be great. We can talk on there. And please like and subscribe if you like my channel. I've got a few more little things coming up before Christmas, and then after the first of the year, I'm going to show you some other ideas, and we're just going to have a lot of fun. So I wish your family and yourself a very Merry Christmas.